The morning sun spilled through my kitchen window in soft gold, settling over the freshly polished table where I had laid out the delicate lilac gown I planned to wear to my daughter's wedding. I smoothed my hand over the fabric for what must have been the 100th time, my fingertips brushing the cool satin, imagining how Leela would smile when she saw me in it. She used to say lilac was our color. When she was little, she begged me to buy her a lilac hair ribbon every school year. "Mom, it's lucky," she'd say. "It means everything will turn out okay." Those words used to be true. I inhaled deeply, letting the scent of brewed tea and fresh flowers fill my chest with a warm, steady joy. Tomorrow, after so many years of imagining this day, saving money, stitching tiny hems into her childhood dresses, taking pictures at every big moment, my daughter would walk down the aisle. I had kept my emotions tucked neatly inside me these past few weeks, wanting her to feel calm and supported. But today, they bubbled at the surface, impossible to contain. I reached for my phone, my thumb hovering over her name. Asterisk, asterisk, my Leela, my girl, my pride, my entire world. Asterisk, asterisk, I hit call. She answered after a few rings, her voice thin. "Mom, just hearing her was enough to make me smile." "Daughter," I said warmly, "I am so happy about your wedding tomorrow. I can hardly believe the day is finally here." Silence. Not hesitant silence, not emotional silence. A hollow, heavy, suffocating silence that slipped into the cracks of my good mood and began to rot it from the inside. "Leela," I asked softly, "are you all right?" Her breath hitched, barely audible. "Mom," before she could finish, a laugh, deep masculine, amused in a cruel way, echoed through the receiver. "Evan, her fiancé, what's wrong with her?" he muttered loudly, not even pretending to hide his disdain. "The wedding was a week ago." My blood turned cold. "What?" My voice dropped to a whisper. "No, no, that's not right. The invitation said you told me. We changed it." Evan interrupted, his tone so casual it felt like a slap. It was easier this way, easier. Like removing a mother from her only daughter's wedding was a matter of convenience, like I was extra furniture in a room he wanted cleared. I waited for Leela to correct him, to defend me, to say something, anything, that made sense of the sudden tearing in my chest. But she didn't. Instead, she said quietly, "Mom, don't be mad. It all happened so fast, and we didn't want things to get complicated." Complicated. The word stung with betrayal I've been saving for years. I whispered, as if the truth might change her mind. "I bought my dress, Leela. I thought I'd walk you down the aisle, I thought." "We didn't want drama," Evan said sharply. "Drama, as if my presence would have ruined something, as if I were a burden?" Leela sniffed. "Evan thought it would be best." I closed my eyes. There it was, the shift I had ignored for months. He thought, he decided, he controlled. "Leela," I said, my voice breaking before I could stop it. "How could you?" But before she could answer, or maybe before she dared, the call ended. Just like that. No goodbye, no apology. No time to process, just a cold, abrupt end. The dial tone buzzed in my ear like a wasp, sharp and relentless. I set the phone down on the table, though my fingers trembled so badly it nearly slipped from my grasp. I looked at the lilac gown, soft, beautiful, pointless. The house around me suddenly felt too big, too quiet, too full of memories I wasn't ready to face. My knees buckled, and I sank into the nearest chair as the weight of reality pressed itself onto my shoulders. My daughter got married. She got married without me, without telling me, without wanting me there. I stared at the kitchen door, half expecting her to walk through it, laughing, telling me it was all a mistake, that she would never do something so cruel, that she still needed her mother, but the doorway stayed empty. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly, utterly alone. Outside, a breeze rattled the window. Somewhere, a neighbor's wind chime tinkled cheerfully. Life continued, uncaring and unfazed, while mine froze in a single, devastating moment. I pressed my hand against my heart, feeling it beat painfully against my ribs, as if it wanted to break free and escape the ache. My daughter forgot me, or worse, she chose to, and the world suddenly became a colder place. The day after the phone call felt like waking up inside a stranger's life. The sun still rose, the birds still chirped, the neighbors still went about their morning routines, but I moved through the hours like a ghost dragging chains of memories behind her. I kept expecting my phone to ring, expecting Leela to come to her senses, expecting someone to tell me it was all a misunderstanding. But the phone remained silent. I didn't turn on the television. I didn't open the blinds. I didn't even make a proper meal. My body went through motions, but my mind stayed trapped in that moment, replaying every word, every pause, every laugh. That laugh, Evan's laugh, had a way of digging into the softest parts of me, leaving bruises that didn't show on my skin, but throbbed beneath it. I had heard him laugh at people before, waiters, strangers, even Leela when she stumbled over her words, but I never thought I would be his target. "Relax," he had said. "It's not like you missed anything important. Not important, my daughter's wedding." The day I had waited for since the moment she was born and placed in my trembling arms. On the second day, I sat on the edge of my bed holding a photo of Leela as a child. She was 6 years old, wearing her first lilac ribbon, her front 2 teeth missing as she grinned up at me with trust so pure it had made me proud and terrified at the same time. "Mom," she had said that day, "when I grow up, can I live with you forever?" And I had laughed, brushing her hair behind her ear. "You'll have your own family, sweetheart, but I'll always be close by. Close by." I had kept my promise. But she hadn't kept hers. By the third day, I started noticing little things I had ignored before, like the way Evan always answered for her, or how she apologized too quickly, or how she stopped visiting as often. I remembered a dinner months earlier. We all sat together at a restaurant, and I had told Leela about the wedding scrapbook I was making, clip-outs of dresses, cake ideas, little notes about songs she liked as a teenager. She smiled, but Evan rolled his eyes. "Isn't that a bit much?" he had said. "You're going to overwhelm her." Leela's smile faded. I had swallowed my hurt, telling myself he was joking, telling myself she would tell me if something was wrong. But now, looking back, the signs were everywhere like breadcrumbs I had brushed aside instead of following. Now those breadcrumbs led straight to a locked door. On the 4th day, Mrs. Harlow from next door knocked. I didn't answer. She slipped a foil container of lasagna onto my porch anyway. Through the window, I watched her look around with concern before leaving. I didn't have the energy to warm it up. On the 5th day, I ventured outside to water the garden. The roses were beginning to wilt from neglect, their petals drooping like they shared my sorrow. A neighbor called out a greeting, but I only managed a faint wave. Conversation felt like too heavy a burden. I kept my head down, pretending I didn't hear 2 women whispering near the sidewalk. Wasn't her daughter supposed to get married last week? Yes, but I heard she wasn't invited. That poor woman! Their pity felt like salt on an open wound. On the 6th day, I forced myself to sit on the porch with a cup of tea. It had always been my ritual of peace, but now the mug felt foreign in my hands, like something borrowed from another life. My phone buzzed once, a message. My heart lurched. But it was only a delivery alert for a package I had forgotten I ordered weeks ago, a small silver frame meant to hold a wedding photo of me and Leela. The sight of it made my throat close up. I left it unopened. That night I cried for the first time, not loudly, but quietly into my pillow, like a child muffling sobs to avoid waking her parents. But I had no one to wake, no one to hear. The house swallowed my pain without a trace. On the 7th day, exactly a week since the phone call, a strange calm settled over me. A numbness, a clarity. Grief had carved out space inside me, but in that hollow space, something else stirred, something I hadn't felt in years. Strength, Not the loud, dramatic kind, but a small, steady flame. The kind you find in mothers who have been hurt but refuse to break. I dressed for the first time in proper clothes, brushed my hair, and cleaned the kitchen. I washed the lilac gown, folded it neatly, and tucked it back into the closet. Not out of bitterness, but out of acceptance. She had chosen her path. I had to choose mine. I didn't know then that fate was already preparing a cruel twist, one that would bring Leela back to my door sooner than I ever imagined. But for that moment, that quiet morning at the end of my silent week, I felt something shift within me. A fragile peace, a bittersweet awakening, a readiness for whatever came next. I didn't know it yet, but they would come, both of them, within hours. And I would be ready. The morning of the 7th day felt unnervingly peaceful, like the air was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I had just finished sweeping the kitchen floor, letting the soft scrape of bristles against tile soothe me, when a sudden burst of frantic knocking shattered the quiet. Not polite tapping, not a neighborly rattle. This was desperate, sharp, chaotic, panicked. I froze, broom in hand. For a moment I wondered if my mind was playing tricks on me, if my loneliness had warped itself into imagined visitors. But the knocking came again, louder this time. "Mom," a voice cried. "Mom, please open the door." My heart lurched. Leela, my daughter. I felt my pulse race, 1,000 emotions colliding in my chest, relief, fear, longing, and anger all swirling like a storm. The broom clattered to the floor as I walked toward the door, each step heavy with dread. When I pulled it open, the world seemed to tilt. There she was, my daughter, but barely recognizable. Her eyes were swollen and red, mascara streaking her cheeks. Her hair clung to her face in tangled strands, and her usually graceful posture was hunched, defeated. Behind her stood Evan, his arrogance cracked like a broken mask. His shirt was wrinkled, his jaw tight, his confidence drained. He looked older, smaller, like someone had wrung the smugness out of him. For one heartbeat, none of us spoke. Then Leela fell into my arms. "Mom," she sobbed, her body shaking violently. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Automatically, my arms hovered around her, but I did not embrace her. Not fully, not yet. I felt Evan shift behind her. "Mrs. Hale," he said stiffly, his voice forced, as if every word was an effort. "We need your help." That was the moment my hands gently dropped from Leela's shoulders. I echoed, my voice like ice. Leela wiped her face with trembling fingers. "Mom, please can we come in? Just for a moment." I didn't move. I didn't open the door any wider. Instead, I looked into her eyes, the same eyes that once sparkled when she chased butterflies in our backyard, the same eyes that used to search for me in crowds. Now they were filled with fear. "Tell me what happened," I said quietly. Leela swallowed hard. Everything fell apart. Evan's jaw tightened. "We hit some setbacks." I stared him down. "Speak clearly." He shifted, folding his arms defensively. I lost my job all right. My supervisor said I wasn't performing well. It isn't fair, but it is fair. Leela whispered bitterly. "You were late almost every day." He glared at her, but she looked away. "And you're home?" I asked. Evan let out a breath of frustration. "My parents said, they said we couldn't stay, that it wasn't their responsibility to support us. They made Leela leave yesterday. They blamed her for everything." Leela's voice cracked. "I tried to fix things. I tried to talk to them, but they hate me, Mom. They think I dragged Evan down. They said I'm dramatic, emotional, that I don't fit in with their family." Her hands clutched the railing of my porch. "And Evan said he was trying to protect me by not having you at the wedding. He said it would be simpler." I turned to him sharply. "Is that true?" He swallowed. His confidence crumbled. "Yes." Leela burst into tears again. "Mom, I should never have listened to him. I let him push you away. I let him decide everything. I hurt you. I know I did, and I'm so sorry." Evan stepped forward suddenly, desperation flickering in his eyes. "Look, I know I messed up. We both did, but we need a place to stay, just for a bit, just to get back on our feet. Layla gripped my hand. Her fingers were cold. "Please, Mom," she whispered, "we have nowhere else to go." A gust of wind blew between us, cold and sharp, fluttering the loose strands of hair around her face. I felt my heart twist painfully, old instinct, wanting to pull her close, to warm her, to shelter her from every storm life threw at her. But then Evan's laugh returned to my memory, the silence on the phone, the wedding I didn't see, the daughter who chose him over me. My chest tightened, but not from weakness, from clarity. I looked at my doorstep, the same one where she took her first day of school photos, where she once cried after scraping her knee, where she promised me as a teenager that she would never abandon me. Now here she was, older, married, broken, but only because the world had finally shown her the price of cutting out the one person who loved her without conditions. I straightened my shoulders. "Leela," I said softly, "I love you." Her hope lit up instantly. "But love," I continued, "does not mean I must save you from a pain you chose." Her face fell. Evan stepped forward. "Mrs. Hale," I held up a hand. "Don't speak. I remember your laugh. I remember how you said my presence would complicate things." I leaned in slightly. "Tell me, how complicated are things now?" He flinched. Leela collapsed to her knees, sobbing so painfully it made my throat tighten. "Mom, please. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I hurt you, but I have nothing left except you." Her tears pooled on my porch. Tears that once would have destroyed me, but now they simply washed away the last illusions I had clung to. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Then, with steady breath and a heart anchored in the lessons of a brutal week, I spoke the words that would change everything. Asterisk, asterisk, get out of here. Asterisk, asterisk, Leela's sobs broke into gasps. "Mom, please wait." Evan tugged at her arm. "Come on, Leela. She doesn't want us." She resisted. "Mom, I'm begging you." Trembling, shaking, I closed the door slowly, not slamming it, not angrily, but with quiet finality. Their cries muffled, their voices faded, and when the latch clicked into place, the house fell silent again. But this time the silence didn't feel like grief. It felt like strength, like healing, like reclaiming the pieces of myself I had once sacrificed. They were gone, and for the first time in a long time, I was standing on my own 2 feet, steady, dignified, unbroken. The house returned to silence after I closed the door on Leela and Evan, but this time the silence felt different. Not hollow, not suffocating, but calm. Like a lake finally settling after a violent storm. I leaned against the door for a long moment, feeling the echo of their pleas ringing faintly in my bones. My heartbeat was steady, not frantic, not trembling. It surprised me how strong I felt, how clear. For the first time in years, my heart belonged to me again. I walked through the house, touching familiar corners, the photo frames, the worn sofa, the ceramic vase Leela made in 7th grade. Nothing had changed, yet everything had shifted. These objects were no longer reminders of what I had lost. They were proof of what I had built alone and what I had survived. I made myself tea and sat by the window. Outside, the sky was a soft gray, promising rain, but with, holding it, much like life itself. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug and watched the world move on, step by step. And I let it. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the aftermath asterisk asterisk, over the next few days. Whispers drifted through the neighborhood like fallen leaves, soft and scattered, but always carrying meaning. They were seen arguing near the bus stop. I heard they're staying in their car now. His family completely turned their backs on them, and she, Leela, she looks so thin, poor thing. I didn't ask for these updates, but they came anyway, carried by neighbors who meant well, who felt sorry for me, or perhaps who simply enjoyed a bit of drama. Whatever their reasons, I listened calmly. Once I would have cried. Once I would have rushed to fix everything. But that version of me had been buried during the silent week. A new version had risen, stronger, wiser, no longer desperate to be needed. And that, in a quiet way, was its own form of revenge. Not yelling, not slamming doors, not wishing harm. Just refusing to be the safety net for someone who had cut me loose without a second thought. Revenge, I discovered, isn't about making someone suffer. It's about making them understand what they threw away. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, unexpected peace asterisk asterisk, with each passing day. The weight around my heart loosened. I found myself humming while washing dishes, opening blinds to let in sunlight, even cooking real meals again. One afternoon, I wandered into the garden and knelt by my roses. They had suffered during that terrible week, petals wilted, stems bent. But like me, they weren't dead. They simply needed tending. I pruned away the dead leaves, watered the roots, and whispered a small apology for neglecting them. It was silly, sentimental, but comforting. As the water soaked into the soil, I imagined it washing away the last remnants of the pain. Inside the house, I reorganized drawers, dusted forgotten shelves, and sorted old albums. I found photos of Leela at every age, her first steps, her graduation, her school plays. Instead of hurting, they warmed something gentle inside me. I realized something important. Leela had not taken my memories. She had only removed herself from my future, and that was her choice, not my burden. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, the letter asterisk asterisk. It arrived on a Thursday, tucked among bills and grocery flyers. I recognized her handwriting immediately, slanted, careful, the way she wrote when she wanted to be taken seriously. My chest tightened, but not with fear, with anticipation. I sat down at the table before opening it, the sunlight landing softly across the page. "Mom," the letter began, and already tears pricked my eyes, not sadness, recognition. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I hurt you deeper than I ever imagined I could hurt anyone. Evan blamed you for everything. He told me you would be too emotional, too controlling. Too difficult. I believed him. I let him make me think you were a problem instead of a gift. My breath trembled, but I kept reading. I see now that I traded the safest love I ever had for the cheapest comfort someone else offered. I see that I abandoned the one person who would have stood by me no matter what, and I can't apologize enough for letting you stand alone on the day that should have been yours as much as mine." My throat tightened. "I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm not asking for money or shelter. I'm only asking for a chance someday, to show you that I can be better than this." The letter ended with a sentence that struck like lightning. "I finally understand what it means to lose a mother's love, and I don't know who I am without it." I pressed the paper to my chest, letting out a slow, steady breath. Then I folded the letter carefully and placed it inside a drawer. Not thrown away, not ignored, but not answered either. Not yet. Forgiveness is not a door you fling open because someone knocks. Forgiveness is a garden you tend only when the soil is ready. And mine was still in early spring. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, healing asterisk asterisk. As the weeks passed, life regained its rhythm. I joined a craft club at the community center, something I once postponed because I was always waiting for Leela to visit. I found myself laughing more often, not loudly, but freely. I baked again, filling the house with warm smells that reminded me of afternoons long ago. Sometimes loneliness crept in, but it no longer felt like an enemy, more like a quiet companion. People who knew my story admired my strength, though I didn't feel strong. I simply felt awake. The sweetest revenge is not seeing the ones who hurt you suffer. It's seeing yourself stand tall without them. I didn't need to punish Leela. I didn't need to shout or accuse. My silence, my boundary, was enough. It taught her far more than anger ever could. Hash hash asterisk asterisk, a new beginning asterisk asterisk. One evening, I stood in my garden as fireflies danced among the roses. The air smelled of rain and earth and something else, something like renewal. For the first time since that awful phone call, I whispered into the quiet evening, "I'll be all right." And I was. Better than all right, stronger, wiser, and finally living for myself. The future ahead was mine, unclaimed, unburdened, full of possibilities. Whether Leela ever earned her way back or not, I knew one truth with unwavering certainty. I had chosen dignity, and dignity is the sweetest revenge of all.